All right, so new video. I don't know where I'll start this or end this, but basically we got the big Atlas Loco at Chickies. They're gonna take this and make it look really nice. The kitchen cart looks like $1 million. This looks really clean. Surprisingly, the paint's actually really clean on it. It kind of looked like a beige color, but the box is a beige color and the actual truck is a white color. So cleaned up nice. Had them touch up the inside as well because it was pretty greasy. Let's take a look inside here. Oh yeah, looks brand new compared to what it used to. The lights and all that other stuff might always stay like that. But so in today's video, wherever this video ends up, we bought a Power Acoustik and we bought it for the Atlas Loco, which we'll hopefully install in this video, as well as some lights. Shout out to Lola for holding it down. I've been working on it this morning to try and get Android Auto onto it, because right from the box, this only comes with Apple CarPlay, which I thought was pretty lame.
It doesn't have speakers.
No, porque hay que ponerlo en el Atlas Loco, ¿verdad?
Yep.
So
You need to play a car.
it is confirmed that it is working, which is awesome.
Yeah.
So from here now, we will go and install it on the Atlas Loco.
Yep.
¿Qué tenemos que hacer?
Plug that. This.
Teníamos que enchufar el USB, ¿verdad? Ese y ya. Yeah, this took forever to get this done because there was so much that we had to download and do. And it just was not working. It wasn't wanting to take it until I figured out that you have to format this to, I think it's called an FAP format. And then it finally worked. Okay, so we made it down here. I love my boys to death, but sometimes working with them, and if you're a parent, you might understand, it's like difficult. So I gave them the option, either come down for 5 minutes and help me for 5 minutes, or come down when I'm a little bit more halfway there. But they wanted to come down for the first 5 minutes. So let's see how this goes. In this video, the boys will be helping me install the radio, the headlights, and the plate. First, let's get this Sharpie off the plate. Dame la placa. Also, just got back from the detailers. They shined it up. They put some tire shine, cleaned the rims and tires. Nada más uno, okay? But the first thing that we need to do is get a plate on this, because normally those, I didn't have enough time before I left for Japan, but normally they all get plates. And so now we'll install the JDM plate and make this thing look better. I love that the boys have such enthusiasm to help me out. Don't get me wrong. Please don't get it twisted that I don't want their help. It's just sometimes it can be difficult, but I think they'll at least be able to help me with the headlights. Good teamwork. This is really good for them. They are homeschooled, so this is like their homeschooling that they're getting done today. And it's also good that they have such desire to want to do the same thing that I want to do. It makes me happy as a father. Really truly does. So let's help them out with the screw and we'll go from there. First things first, we got to get this bezel out of the way so that we can put the new radio. Shout out to this radio. It's fine. The only thing is that this button doesn't work very well. After a while, they just stop kind of working. So plus we have a single DIN that is a Power Acoustik one that you saw earlier. So that's going to go there. And it's going to help for when you're driving. You have a GPS down there. It's kind of in the field of view / not. That's like how I kind of see it, where I see the steering wheel a little bit. But it's better than doing maybe the A-Total 1.5. So let's get this installed and go from there. All right, so what I would assume is that it's going to take one of these. Oh, sí, Aggie? It's going to take one of these panel tools to pop it out. Entonces, agarra esa, empuja. Empuja, duro. Yes, good job. That was pretty easy.
Yeah.
And so now, we just take the radio out. I think there's going to be Phillips. And that's, oh, nope. Ahora este. ¿Ves los tornillos ahí? Estos aquí. Whoa. Okay, wait, time out. Voy a agarrar otra. Oh, okay. Suave. A little bit. Nada más un poquito, okay? Hey, ouch.
Oh, wow, that was close.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Allá arriba. Suave, Grover. Suave, okay? Go. Go ahead. Go. Okay. Good job. Ahora sácalo.
I got this.
Tiny fingers help.
Oh, screw it. That is so awesome.
Nope. Ahora el otro lado. Dáselo a Aggie. El turno de Aggie.
Oh, no.
It's very slippery because now it's got armor all over it. Suave, Aggie, okay?
Okay.
¿Quieres ayuda?
Nope. Oops.
It's okay.
No.
Ya voy para allá. Un minuto. Yes, good job. Otra vez. ¿Listo? Yo te ayudo. Vamos a empezar ahí. Go. Okay. Good, good, good. Agárralo, Grover. Ya va. Let go, let go. Quita, quita. Okay, go. Okay, ya. Note to self, make sure they don't drill.
Okay, now.
Eso, Grover, suave. Suave con dos manos. Eso. Oh, that's it. Well, let me see if I can help Grover. Turned into a little bit of a bigger ordeal because it seems like the harness is catching. And so we got to remove this. Anyways, this isn't closing right. When they detailed it, they must have lost something behind there.
That's it.
So
Got it.
now the boys are working on getting all the screws off. No, mira acá arriba.
Wait. My turn.
Mira, aquí uno y dos.
Okay.
El turno de aquí. ¿Estás bien, Grover?
Okay.
Oh. Okay. Al próximo. Suave, Grover. Much bigger ordeal than I thought. Now more than half the dash is apart, but...
My turn.
Un minuto, ahorita va a ser tu turno. Grover, haz el otro. Haz el otro ya. Okay, sácalo, suave. Eso. Good job. Muy bien. Now we get this one out of here and we see what is going on over here as to why this guy's not closing. And it looks like it's got some sort of folded something inside of it. So let's get that out.
Let me see.
All right, so we're back on this side.
Yep.
And it seems like we're being held up by, I don't know what over here.
Yep.
Could be random antennas or something.
That's right.
So let's figure out what is holding us up so we can pull the radio. Dale, sácalo. Sácalo.
Yeah.
Para arriba, para abajo, suave. Del lado al lado. So quite interesting. We have a Kenwood speaker here.
And
then I didn't even notice that there's another one there, but then we also have one up there and one up there. So I think that's our 4-speaker system. So we also have grounds. These two are grounds that are being grounded down under here. I don't know if the camera picked that up. So we'll try and pull this harness out of here and see what's going on, and then we also got our radio antenna there, so that's good. So we know we have a radio antenna. So I'm gonna try and work through this to try and get this harness off of the original harness and then wire it all up. This is for my record's sake more than anything else, but it'll probably make it on the video. They wired those up very guttily on there. And then it looks like we have the green one that goes down and over to the right probably. And then it looks like we have the set of purples, which are going somewhere as well. I don't know where these are all going, but someone did kind of a janky job when they wired up this radio. So I'm gonna try and clean it all up to make it better. I've sent the boys off because this is where it kind of gets tricky for me and I need attention to be able to do it. So let's get to it. All right, so I got the grounds off. Most of the harness came off from the factory harness here. I don't think from the factory this really came with really many options, like as far as speakers go. It's got this, which I wonder what it's for. Not really quite sure. It's loomed in there. But I gotta unplug the other speakers for now. Got some tape here with me so that I can tape up which one goes where, so that I can know. And then we'll hopefully be able to wire it all back together the way it's supposed to. And what I'll do, because I don't really need this radio harness anymore because it's a dated radio, is I'll end up having to cut most of this off so I got more length so it doesn't look all ghetto like that. Sorry that the camera's all over the place. I apologize in advance. I'm like watching as I do, and so it becomes difficult. If you're watching this far, good for you. If you skip through this, good for you as well. But I've labeled them so I know which one goes where ultimately. Now I can unplug these, and that will essentially release my harness. The yellow one goes to that one. And again, this footage is more so for me than you guys, so that I know where my harnesses are going, so that I know where to plug them back in. But I figured you guys might want to see the action too. Some people like to see this, some people don't. So for now, let me dig it out from where it's at. And then we're left with this. So now I'll just cut probably from here and splice into it, and same thing with all this. I'll just splice into the new harness from there. So I won't bore you with the details, but at this point it's basically matching up color to color, ground to ground, power to power, supplier 12 volt supplier, 12 volt supplier. The only thing I will bore you with is anytime you have a radio that says brake detect, that basically means it wants this cable grounded off to the e-brake, so it doesn't allow you to do certain things while you're driving. The way to bypass that is just ground it. In this case, I was kind of a little bit of a dodo head, and I forgot to ground that with the ground. But no problem, that's what these strippers are for. That'll strip them, and then I'll put that around that and then tape that up, and that should be okay. But otherwise, this is pretty much self-explanatory. I'll show you after all it's done. I've basically already cut the old harness out and got rid of all the connections that I don't really need from it. So now I'll probably end up using these for the ones that didn't have connections on them, and then go from there. All right, so pretty much by the end, you should have a wiring harness that is all hooked up. I forgot about these. I got to figure out if those were connected to anything, but I don't think so. I think it was just no, they weren't, because they would have been connected to these, if anything. So that's one speaker that goes to, I believe, the passenger footwell, if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, it's the only one that's not marked. But speaking of which, it didn't have illumination hooked up, and this is illumination, so I'm going to hook up the illumination. So when you flick the lights on, it goes into dark mode. That way you're not driving around with super bright screen. Not that I think will make a huge difference, but first let me see this, and then I might end up cutting these so that they end up working for the speaker side of the wires. So let me test those out now. What I mean by that is this speaker was just kind of, they shoved those into that connection. I don't really like that. So I'm going to pull this speaker off so that I can get access to it, so that I can splice those wires in properly, not jankily like they did here. I mean, I'm sure they had a specific reason, and I don't know that reason. Maybe they just didn't have enough of the crimps or something to do it, but I want it to sound nice. I don't want it to sound crappy, and there is the potential that could make it sound crappy. So no room for potentially sounding crappy. I mean, if anything, these speakers might actually be shot too. So for now, let's pull this out to try and get it all sorted and make it sound good. I think I undid these because I was just going to solder it to this, but shout out to Nick, because this is the way before the Fame special. Don't get me wrong, I've done this on the fly when they did the Terios kit, but that's not something I like to do. My camera would let me focus. I'd rather have those which have solder connections, and in case there's moisture. So let me get those wired up. So there you have it. If you want to get fancy like me, you can get some Tesla tape, which is basically like tape that makes it look like a factory wiring harness. I still wanted to leave these exposed, so I just taped up the areas where there were solder, and then the areas where there's like big joints. I'll probably end up taping this one a little more than what I did. The reason I didn't before was because of all the tape, but I'm not really using that anymore, so might as well tape it up so it's not so meh. You know, at least it looks like a nice wiring harness. I won't tape these up because in the future, if you take these off, this is still useful to unplug and plug back in. So yeah, but I'll probably tape off the ends that can be taped off. The ground I'll leave off because they got to get grounded to where it originally was. But yeah, and we'll wire it up, we'll test it, and then we'll get the boys down here to install it. All right, so don't tell my boys I did this, but I just wanted to get it all buttoned up so that when they came down here, they had success. But we've plugged in all the connections down here, all the connections up there. Yeah, I'll fix these wires. I just have to confirm that it works first. So in theory, if we take the key and we put it onto the on position, yes, it fires up. Now to know if it actually plays music. Stay tuned for that. Hopefully this is non-licensed music that I'm playing here, but we get sound from there. I have to check what's going on with this speaker because it's not working, but music from there. And I don't know if we get music from there. Let me see. Yes, we do get music from there. Might even be getting music. No, something's up with that speaker, so I gotta check it out. So initially, I pulled the speaker out, which is sitting on top of the counter there. I took them out and it looked plugged in. And then I pulled this wiring harness down and I looked a little further. And this is what happens when the jankiness comes into play. That wire was supposed to go in one of those holes and it did not. It missed it. So now I gotta pull this back apart, pop this guy back out, then press it back in so it holds it. And then technically your speaker should work. It looks like the speaker's shot. It looks like it's cracked around. So maybe it's supposed to be like that, but if I'm not mistaken, I don't think so. Oh no, that's dry rotted. So definitely need new speakers up here because they sound kind of janky anyways. So got to source new speakers, got to figure out how wide they are and then get new ones. That's not the end of the world. And then maybe get new ones for the bottom as well. But the bottom ones sound pretty good and they still work. Maybe I'll just get these two and go from there. That size might be a little bit more difficult to find. We're cooking. It's actually pretty loud. I'm sorry if it's loud in the video. I guess I should lower this, but I just wanted to show you the ability of how loud it could get. That one's working again. That's all it was. Super excited that all the speakers work now. I think I'll pause this right here. I think this works fine in retrospect. These still move in and out without any issues. They'll probably over time. No, I don't think they'll scratch it. But the other thing I had to do was when you pop this guy off of here, if I can get my trim tool to pop it off, but basically when you pop this off, the whole radio comes out. Reason being is because the way that this is so big, these are small enough that they can go, the surround can go back around them, and then you can put a trim piece back around them. But these double DIN or single DIN 1.5s or whatever you want to call them, they're just a little bit wider. And so what I basically had to do is, I'll show you because the boys are going to come over here and wire it up, is I basically had to put the original trim that held this with the screws in place that you saw the boys take out earlier, and that kind of holds the bezel in there, and that'll hold the radio from sliding forward or anything. I think with enough momentum it can make the clips go forward, but you really have to be doing something dumb to do that. But for now, got to get the boys down here to wire up the radio and let them feel like they've been a part of this, because they really have. Shout out to Augie and Grover. And then we'll put all this back together, have them put all that back together, and then move on to the headlights, and I'll have them help me with the headlights. It's been fun so far. I enjoy doing these things. These are the things that I enjoy, not going fast, going nice and slow. We got beautiful weather. I think it's probably like 55, maybe 60 degrees out today. So this is fun. So besides the lights, besides the plate, I think there was something else I needed to do, but I don't remember what it was. This has been cleaned, which is sweet, so it's pretty much ready to go. If you're interested, let me know. I'm going to make a full video about it, because I think it deserves a full video. Actually, all my cars deserve a full video, because that's a way that I do to sell my cars. Another thing I have to look into is the window's not currently working. I'm not really quite sure. I have to look into see what's going on, finish putting the speaker back together, and then go from there. So before I brought the boys down, they were very excited to help with this as well, so said might as well get going on this to see what needs to get done here. But we're going from these old school lights, which are glass and they're fine, and they actually have the ability to put H4s, which are really cool. But let me show you what I got. Instead I got these, which has like a little bit of a halo with a running light and then a turn signal, but then a high beam, low beam. They're LEDs, which is really cool. I think hopefully it'll be better than putting an H4 in these old school lenses, and it will give it a different look. Maybe it'll make it look a little bit more like Nick. So I'm gonna try and wire this up, because I have to wire them up to the running lights, so got to get power from those below there, pre-wire those so when the boys come in, and then put these on these bezels so when the boys come in they can just simply put everything on, be 1 2 3, and we're done. But let me first see if they'll get powered by that cord. So we'll go from these dinky lights that don't power up very much and emit a lot of heat to these LEDs, which are much brighter and nicer. And the nice thing is they do hook up. They're powered by the H4 connector that's normal, so it's plug and play, which is awesome. I guess the only thing I have to do is wire the running light, which those down below. Maybe I'll switch those to LED too. I have to check to see if I have any more leftover LEDs, but I think this will be a much better look anyway. And then I gotta wire up the turn signal. So one will be for the turn signal and the other one will be for the running light. So stay tuned. So if you're curious, what you gotta know to adapt this to the old frame is you gotta remove this bezel, and it's gonna have 4 screws. That's not necessarily only for the Atlas Loco. That goes for any car that has these. I think they're 5x7s or 7x5s or 6x7s, I think is what they call them. So we'll get this bezel off and put onto here and then go from there. All right, just like that, we removed this. The only issue we can't kind of run into is I had to push these away with the tab, but then I'll smack them back down to try and get these guys to work as best as possible. But these are wider as opposed to these. There's just the way that they're made. But I'll smack them down and see what kind of success we have with that. Either way, I think it's so pressed in there that those 2 top ones should be enough to hold it in place. But one downside that I will say is you are going from glass, which will always stay clear or will scratch up, but to plastic, which over time will fade over the sun. But if you treat this with like wax and keep it all cleaned up all the time, it should be good. It's easier to break too, but that's okay. And luckily, there's a ton of replacements for this. There's a ton of replacements for this too, but I feel like I'm willing to sacrifice the glass for this. Now, if 3 months from now this is all cracked and peeling and like does not look good, then that's a different story. But the nice thing is we do keep this one in case, and we can put an H4 LED light bulb in there and it'll still work. So let me bend those tabs back down. That'll work. The tabs are still kind of there and they're still kind of pushing up against it. So I don't think it's going to go anywhere. They're more angled like that. And I don't think they're going to run into any issues when we put it into the actual car because those tabs really don't touch anything over here. This housing is pretty big, but I'll put it on and show you how it looks like. To basically get those on, let me put them on and I'll show you. So they're on. They're basically on these spring screws where you just have to push and pull away to where it was. You just have to look to see where they are. In this case, this is the lights all the way there. In that case, the lights all the way this way. So it makes sense. Now I'll find the wires that need to go for the running light, and then the ones for the turn signals, wire those up. We can plug these in and we should be golden. We'll do that for both sides so that way the boys can just plug them in and be happy. All right, so now the running light's working, the blinker's working. I gotta figure out why this blinker's not working, but yeah, now we got a blinker and a running light and should look good. We're cooking. We got the blinkers, both are working. I think I figured out what the issue is with this one. I think I just have the wrong size bulb, but got daytime running lights. That's unplugged, that's why it's not working. But happy that that's good. Gonna get this put back on. We'll let the boys peel this. I wanted to get this on video because it's important and people make mistakes, and I made a mistake, but thankfully I have the tool to fix it. Basically, I cross-threaded this, not nut, but this bolt while I was trying to put it in. And thankfully enough, threader kit, so now it's re-threaded. And now I can fit it back on. But shout out to Mac Tools because I have this because of them. Don't be like me and strip out things if you don't have the correct tools to fix the things that you stripped. But now I can finish putting the headlights back together, and I'll show you that. And putting them back together is pretty basic. There's 2 10s on this side and 3 Phillips up top. And then there's a little one, like a tab down there, that one right there. You just pull that out and this whole bezel comes out. But now I can just put this guy back in, and before I zip it with the gun, hand thread it. And then we'll have our lights put back together. I don't know, you guys tell me. Now it looks like a smiley face, smiling. Holy macaroni. We got the first inspector.
Yeah.
Y sirve, Grover, y sirve y todo. Pero tú y alguien me lo van a ayudar a poner. Nope, tengo que prender el carro para que sirva. So exciting, ¿verdad?
Yep. And we need to throw this away, right?
Sí, ese ya está para la basura, pero ahorita lo botamos. ¿Dónde está Aggie?
Still upstairs. She's getting shoes on.
Okay. Inspector number 2. Okay. ¿Qué tienes?
Yes.
Okay. Me van a ayudar, ¿verdad? Pon eso en el piso.
Okay.
Okay, entre los dos. Tienen que empujarlo.
Okay. For what?
Empujen el TV.
Okay.
Suaves. Wait. Mira. Ok. Ok, alguien empuja acá. Duro. Eso, woohoo, high five. Ok, ahora tienen que buscar la otra parte que va aquí. Está allá atrás. La caja. Nope. La caja grande.
Oh.
Yes, good job. Y ahora sí, vamos a mover esto de aquí. Pero ponlo ahí adentro.
Let's see it works.
Ahorita te enseño si sirve o no.
Oh, that was cool.
Ok.
Nope.
Déjame, voy a agarrar el taladro, ok? Un minuto.
Did.
Ok, go ahead. Hazle. Dale. Oh, casi. Esto aquí, quítalo. Quita ese, Grover.
Yeah.
Oh, aquí, quita este. Nice, Grover.
Spot.
Yes, good job.
Holy macaroni.
Holy macaroni. Gracias, Aggie. Gracias, Grover. All right, so I did an update. I've been kind of just working and doing things. I'm getting more frustrated than anything else. This thing has R12, so I might have to convert it to R134, but there's some steps that it takes to do that. This was serviced, so I don't know if it didn't get enough R12 or... like I said, I don't know if I've said it in previous videos, every time I get a vehicle that has had like the AC service, I feel like when it gets here it has no gas. I don't know if someone in the port or somewhere like purposely there's a lot going on in the background. But yeah, I don't know if someone like on the port or in the boat, they take it out or something. Just feel like it never comes working for some reason. So with that being said, there is a thing I found online that I can convert it to it. It's like 49 bucks for 2 of it. So I might order 2 of those cans and try refilling it. It's not that it's super hot, but it's just not cold enough to justify it being what it's supposed to be. I cleaned up these wires over here so that they're not all dangling. This wire I got to get rid of eventually. I'll probably put a zip tie on that, but it was a 12 volt wire that I don't know why it was running inside, but it was unplugged. Cleaned up those wires. So front end is done. There was a slight transmission leak, so I've dug into the center of this to get to the transmission fluid to check it. It was low, so I got to go pick up the correct fluid for this and then top it off. So I got to get all this cleaned up so that I can get it back on the road. So I'm going to do that, and then I'm going to go see Savi. He let me know that he was done with the cappuccino, or almost done with the cappuccino. And so that one's going to be for sale. I'll probably make a separate video on that one. But yeah, stay tuned for that, and let me clean up. It gets so overwhelming when you pull out so many tools, and then you're like, oh man, where do I even start to clean up? And so my way is just pile it all up, take it, put it away in increments, and just keep looking around the car. Make sure everything's put away and then go from there. I'll leave that open because I'll end up putting transmission fluid, because if you didn't know, you have to add transmission fluid while the car's running and the transmission's warmed up. So I can actually get this going so it starts to warm up while I get going for everything else. All right, got cleaned up for the most part. Grover went to go get a jacket. We're gonna hit the road. These look amazing. I think they add such a great look. Let's throw the hazards on so we see what it looks with the hazards on. Sick. I know some people take these lights and they swap them so that the blinkers, essentially it's like upside down, so the blinker's here. I like the blinker on the outside much better. I think it just looks overall better. Still got to get a cap for the plate, but let's go ahead to pick up some transmission fluid and go from there. I didn't show it, but new LED lights on the tail lights. This one was burnt out and it kept burning out. A little bit of rust there, and then this is where the shore power plug is, which is really cool. But I would get a converter to properly use this, or I would just have to take and put a new plug in there. Another thing I did off camera was this kept flopping back and forth, so there's a bolt that allows you to twist it up. That way you can get a 17 in there and tighten it up. The only thing I didn't get a chance to do is look at that window, but our days are running out, or our day is running out, so gotta work on the transmission, and then we have the radio.